Thank you guys for joining me in the Micromobility World Workshop. It's a micro webinar that I'm doing today. My name is David Garcia. I'm the Product Marketing Manager and IoT expert for emnify. Today, we're going to be talking about how to build a world-class micromobility service with global cellular connectivity. Boy, is that a mouthful, but that's what I went with, so I'm sticking to it, folks. That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about what the agenda is going to hold for this presentation. Like Luke mentioned, this is a very important topic. I want to be able to share with you guys not only information about the market trends, but also talk about insights that I've gathered from dealing with customers that are struggling with connectivity. Before that, I'm going to talk about myself, share a little bit about who I am. I'm going to share with you 3 common micromobility pitfalls that people struggle with. Hopefully, if you're not struggling with these, I can help you avoid them. Then we're going to talk about the industry itself, the micromobility trends, how platforms are beginning to play a big part in micromobility moving forward. And if there's a little time at the end, I'll leave some question and answer buffer for you guys to ask me some questions. If not, we can always follow up and connect as well. All right, so we don't have a lot of time, so I want to give you guys the presentation and give you guys some value. So let's kick it off with who exactly this guy is that's talking to you right now. So my name is David Garcia. I'm a product marketing manager, like I mentioned with emnify, but I'm very passionate about IoT and infrastructure. I love helping people solve connectivity problems. Been doing it for over 15 years already. That's what I love to do. The reason why I'm here today and why I hope that you guys are also here attending this webinar is because there's a few things that are happening in the micromobility ecosystem. Now, if you're attending this webinar, I'm going to take a stab and assume that it's for one of 3 reasons, okay? 1, you're struggling with reliable connectivity. Maybe you don't have the right troubleshooting tools. Maybe you don't have enough troubleshooting, systems or platforms or integrations. Maybe there's not a lot of vendor or carrier support. Maybe you're struggling with the lack of network visibility, which is probably a result of having too many carriers. Maybe you're way too complicated. Maybe you have too many different SIM version cards that you have to struggle with managing. Maybe you have too many single points of failure, right? Maybe you have too many manual, complicated device setup processes that you need to follow, and that's limiting you because as you scale, boy, our workflow automation is going to become a big issue for you. Because if you have a lot of carriers and you have a lot of different complexities that you're adding to the mix, now you have a lot of integrations that you have to manage, or no integrations that you get to integrate, or maybe the feature sets are all different. So you have inconsistency, or maybe you have a lack of features, right? That's kind of the big issue here, is that there's a lack of standardization. So if you're struggling with 1, 2, or all of these, don't worry, okay? We're going to walk you through exactly how to get out of this. And the reason why it's important to talk about this right now is because of these specific trends. Number 1, there's a lot more investment happening in the micromobility space, especially after a lot of the municipalities and cities are starting to understand how much of an impact it causes in reducing traffic congestion, right? So especially we're talking about short trips, the scooter and e-bike are awesome. I was just at CES. I was telling Luke the story. I literally had to wait 45 minutes plus to pay $27 for a fare that was reasonable, or walk 5 miles, go to a gas station and order an Uber and pay $80, right? If they would have had a solution for micromobility, glad they would have taken that. The other thing is there's investments in IoT for predictive maintenance. That's growing as well, which means that now you're adding even more complexity, because if you're retrofitting or if you're adding IoT modules to be sure to protect your investments or to increase the overall efficiency or for longevity or sustainability, right? That's a big trend. Then you're going to be investing in things like battery monitor sensors and things like that. So that's why this is an important topic as well. Because as these things start to grow, as more investments happen and more introduction of more technologies, the cellular coverage for a global scale for anybody that's looking to grow is going to become an even bigger nightmare. But here's the thing, okay? It's not so dark, because it's really not you, right? It's really your network, all of them. What do I mean? Well, if you're struggling with all the issues that I just brought up about the lack of visibility and the complexities, it's typically because you're doing things the old way. And that's what people typically do. They start off with doing a single carrier, and then they're missing coverage, so they add more carriers. But the problem with that is, again, you have low visibility, you have data costs and network costs that are rolled in. You don't know exactly what you're paying for. You have network performance issues because you have gaps in coverage, so you add more carriers, adds more complexity. You have long contracts and rigid pricing, which means that good luck trying to go to market with a price that's not going to eat up your margins. Plus, a lack of automated integrations. If you know anything about IoT, you know that integrations are all that anybody cares about, okay? And also the local support. Guys, please understand, local support is very important. And let me make the case for you why this is something you should be asking more of from your providers. If you have to deal with different time zones, different languages, unless you speak everything, and unless they speak IoT, you're gonna have a hard time because you're adding a lot more to your resolution times. That's not good because that affects your availability and that gives you a black eye, right? That's why understanding that having somebody that understands how to help your smart people with their smart devices is gonna be huge, because these are no longer a POS terminal with a handbrake anymore, right? These are really smart, intelligent devices that are essentially, look at all these sensors that they have now, right? It's essentially a computer. And a lot of these things are using ML, they're using AI. Why? To process a lot more of that at the edge. So if you're thinking about, all the engineering that goes into this and the smart people that were invested in making sure that this actually worked, if it does take off, are you going to be able to scale? Are you going to be able to address the demands that you have? You probably not, right? Especially now when you're talking about 10x, 10,000. And why is that? Well, my friends, it's because you suffer from the very common thing that everybody does, the lack of expertise and the lack of resources. You can't be an expert in everything. And you definitely don't have enough resources to handle all of the ins and outs and the management of the devices on the connectivity side. You have smart people. They're great developers, they're great product marketing managers, they're great product designers. But to ask them to then on top of that handle the connectivity at a global scale is nuts, okay? And that's why you need to be able to take control and incorporate your network connectivity piece into whatever platform you're going to offer your customers. That's how you're going to be successful. That's how we really reduce waste, okay? Because all this e-waste and the lack of sustainability because people go to market and don't have a fully baked product is the reason why they fail. So understanding that the reason why you're struggling with having devices that are attached but not sending data, or things that are going out of the network tariff, so now you got all these additional charges. And maybe you sent the Brazil SIMs to Japan. Whoops, right? This is too much. It doesn't scale. Having this type of model was never meant to have connectivity for IoT devices in mind, ever, okay? Which is why, if you do not have the right platform to handle the connectivity, the logistics, that's always gonna be your bottleneck. Why? Because you're never gonna know if the reason why you're not able to access the data, the reason, is it because of the device? Is it because of your application? Or is it because of your network, right? That's what happens when you don't have connectivity baked in. And that's exactly why everybody is in the position that they are right now. And if you're watching me, this is exactly what you're struggling with. I guarantee it. So let's talk about how we can fix this, because there is a better way. So if you're talking about global connectivity to enable a world-class micromobility operation, what does that look like? I have to address the pain points of having the multiple carrier model is going to provide you, right? So number one, I have a SuperNetwork. What does that mean to you? Well, folks, it means that you're going to have over 490 networks globally with coverage in over 200 plus countries, with LTE 4G in 178 of those countries, at least 2 mobile network operators in every country, which means you're going to have only one SIM that you're going to be managing. It's going to have the same APN across the globe. You're not going to have to worry about, you accidentally sent the Brazil SIM cards to Japan anymore. You have one single SKU. You have all of the networks, and you have connectivity that's been that's been expanded across the globe, and it's distributed. And you have 24/7, 365 same-day resolution support for a premium offering. Okay. The reason why I bring up the redundancy and the problem we solve, and why I bring up the fact that we have a distributed cloud-native infrastructure is this: we own our core. So all of the deployments you're going to do globally, if you were not aware, if you're using traditional single carriers, if you ship out globally, that device has to communicate all the way back to home base anytime that it's going to send or receive data, right? Us, we have a distributed plane, which means that the redundancy is going to be a lot less, your agreements for privacy in Europe and Japan are going to be okay, you're going to be compliant, and it's going to improve your battery life because the devices are going to send communication within the borders of where you're deploying them. So it means it travels less, which means less latency. And if you're talking about battery life, you know that that's important, okay? Now, the automation aspect of having a bunch of carriers and having a bunch of different providers that don't understand IoT. We are API from the get-go. We are cloud native for a reason, because automation is what everybody has to keep in mind when you're talking about scalability. That's number one. The reason that you go on the cloud is because you want to have instant access to the resources to address the changes of the demands that your customers have in real time. It's called hyperscaling, right? So if you understand that, then you know that having an API that can let you do troubleshooting by sending reset commands to modems that are not responsive, or automatically configuring your devices, or setting up a way to manage the contract costs for your customers if it's seasonal. No one's going to take a scooter in the snow in the wintertime in Chicago, okay? Why not save them some money? Well, also, a lot of times people would love to take advantage of those automations, but they just can't. They don't have the developer resources. That's why they are in the pickle that they're in, right? Behind on their automations, they're behind on their integrations, they're behind on all the stuff they need to do. Well, here's another option for you, my friend. You can use this to automate anything. You can have it automatically activate the SIMs, send you a notification through Google, Gmail, send you a Slack message, send you a Salesforce report, send a text if you're running low on data. You can automate a lot of these things, which means that now you have the ability to free up some of your resources. That's important. Now, I also talked about the integrations. I talked about how we're going to solve that problem for you. Well, because we own our own core, right? Because we're virtual and because we're everywhere, that means that wherever you are, you're going to have access to real-time data from that network through our single pane of glass, which is purpose-built for you to get the information you need for diagnostics and support in your operations. If you're a product manager, you fully understand why this is a big deal. Because if they don't have visibility, they're flying blind. And if you're doing this type of application where you're trying to scale, you're usually flying the plane as you build it. So having the ability to offer this kind of insight reduces your resolution times and improves your uptime, which improves your availability, which is really good for you, right? Data streaming and Cloud Connect. These are two ways that we address the issues that people have with not having access to data. Again, because I own the core, I can give you the events that are in real time of whatever network that you ship out, that you have one single SIM to manage on through my single pane of glass. Or if you're already cloud native, which most likely you are, if you have an application, it lives in the cloud. If you have a device, it connects to the cloud. Why not just take your clouds and connect them in the sky and avoid having to expose your data, right? Because it's a lot easier. And it's kind of the reason why we built it this way, because if you're talking about somebody who's doing micromobility, this is a big deal to them, because they're going to be able to incorporate new devices or add devices to different application servers natively in the cloud, and it'll take them minutes, right? Access to information, access to data, access to resources in minutes. Talk about scale. Security. The one thing that people don't understand about also including the connectivity into your solution is this. You need to help mitigate as much of the risk to the data and to the transactions and to all of the different endpoint pieces of information that are available on these devices, okay? So if you can do things like add firewalls or private DNS or prevent the misuse of your tampering of your devices, you're doing a lot more than most people who don't even know what's going on with the network, because now you can spot anomalies. Now, because you're able to have the data in real time, you can start to be able to feed that into machine learning. You can start to use that to help secure things, right? That's the kind of peace of mind you bring to the table if you use this type of solution that's purpose-built for scalability in IoT. We understand that there's low power consumption, long battery life, and the resource-constrained devices. So resource-constrained devices could definitely benefit from having something else to help them mitigate the risk. That's what we do. All right, we're getting close to the end of my presentation here, but I wanted to share this with you, just kind of a recap, the reason why this stuff is important and why I want to make sure you guys understand. Again, If you don't know if it's your device, if it's your application, or if it's your network that's affecting why you're not receiving data, that's a big problem. And that's where you are right now. And that's a problem I want to help you solve. So if you take a solution like emnify, you're going to be able to connect your devices globally across any kind of technologies. Because remember, guys, we have mixed bag of technologies. There's stuff that runs on 2G, stuff that runs on 3G, stuff that's on LTE-M. If you're not familiar, we work with that too, right? You also have global access to everything. So now you can integrate all of the user data, all of the event notifications, all of the things you need for your automation of your workflows, your business enablers, your BI, all that stuff. And now you can automate it and you can operate and make sure you continue your business continuity because you have redundancy. You no longer have single point of failures. You actually have access and visibility. And you get to secure everything because we own the stack. So because of that, we're very app and developer centric. That's kind of where we started. But we fully are aware that we're helping solve a problem for people. So we have to make it as people friendly as possible, right? You guys are all beautiful, competent, intelligent, bright people that are trying to solve problems. I'm trying to help you solve the connectivity piece so you can focus on keeping on solving and doing amazing breakthroughs like we're doing now, especially with all these new breakthroughs we're having with AI and stuff. I know that it's possible, but we need to find a better way to do it. This is really it. That's all I wanted to share with you guys. If this was interesting to you, you want to set up a demo, you want to do a deeper dive, I can schedule that for you. You can go ahead and set this up here. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always sharing information on there. I'm always available, and I would love to be a resource for you as well. Luke, that's it for me. How are we on time, and do we have any available questions? And if not, we can go ahead and just set up a follow-up later. But that is it for me, my brother. Hey there, Luke. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Default has there. Well, I apologize. I've lost audio. So if you guys can hear me, I apologize. Oh, okay, good. So it's not just me. Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm just checking the messages. Well, right on, man. So I'll tell you what, I would love, like I said, add me on LinkedIn, please, and follow up with me. Luke, thank you very much for setting this up, my brother. I understand technical difficulties happen all the time. It's happened to me. So I appreciate the fact that you guys put on this platform. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed my TED Talk. And that's it for me, man. Yeah,